Fairborn Dayton, Dayton's right choice.
We're all working men around here.
Good morning, Wright State University, and welcome to the Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. Start your day the right way with us. We're going to be providing you the current events of the day. We're going to talk a little bit about what's happening at Wright State University. We're going to have some casual conversations. And we're going to have a feature depending on the day of the week. You don't want to miss it. Right here, right now. The Wright Morning Show, WWSU. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's edition of the Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. It is Thursday, May 13th, 2021. We're going to get started right away with your current events in the news, and we're going to start with local news first. A Dayton children's doctor says reemergence of typical viruses shows return to normal. This is from WHIO Radio. Coughs and colds are cropping back up in children as COVID-19 cases are on the decline. It's kind of a return to normal, which is kind of reassuring, Dr. Lisa Zamnick, the Division Chief of Dayton Children's Urgent Care and Kids Express, said. She is seeing a reemergence of viral sore throats, runny noses, colds, ear infections, and a croup cough. Dr. Zamnick explained as more people get vaccinated, parents are expanding their social circles. They're getting together with friends. Their kids that are playing together more are often unmasked, Dr. Zamnick said. And there's a number of times when kids can spread those common illnesses to each other. Second, she said, while more COVID-19 was circulating through the community, it was keeping other viruses away. If there's so much COVID in the community, then the other viruses cannot compete, Dr. Zamnick said. She explained, when someone is sick with COVID-19, the virus puts up its own defense against other sicknesses. It's kind of like a self-preservation for that virus. It wasn't going to let anything else come in because it wanted you to itself, Zamnick said. She stressed that the pandemic has shown that masking, hand washing, and staying home when sick really works to help stop the spread of germs. A water main break in Riverside occurred. There is no estimated repair time at this time. This is from WDTN. The Montgomery County is alerting residents of Riverside to a water main break. The break happened at Burkhart Road and Spinning Road. While it is being repaired, residents might experience depressurization. At this time, Riverside is not under a boil advisory, and there's not an estimated time for the work to be completed. WDTN will keep you up to date as more information is available, so be sure to keep an eye on WDTN. Dayton is imposing regulations on police surveillance tech. This is from Dayton Daily News. They have me on a paywall still, so you're going to have to check that out for yourself. A woman hit by an RTA bus on North Dixie Drive in Dayton. This is from WDTN. A woman was hit by an RTA bus driving south on North Dixie Drive in Dayton this last afternoon. The Montgomery County Sheriff's Office said that a woman riding the bus disembarked at the bus stop on North Dixie Drive. As the bus began to pull away, the woman fell down under the bus. Though she sustained serious injuries from the accident, she was taken to Miami Valley Hospital and is now in stable condition. WDTN will update the story as there is more information. From Dayton.com, donate your pandemic stories, that once-in-a-lifetime event we're all participants in. Personal stories of the pandemic, Sincere accounts from people with ties to the Miami Valley are being collected and preserved by the Special Collections and Archives at Wright State University. The project, Document Your Story, began last year to encourage people to keep a written, visual, or audio diary for future generations. It's important to collect and keep these things so we have the voices of everyone, not just people interviewed for the newspaper or television, Liza Rickley, archivist and collections manager, said. That's how we find out what is we really like for everyone. More than a dozen submissions have been donated, and the Special Collections and Archives would like to collect more. The experiences of medical students, physicians, personal shoppers, parents, and historians are among the donations. Many of the submissions capture the earliest days of the pandemic when the months ahead were unclear. Bill Stoles, reference and outreach archivist at WSU, documented his own experience in words and photographs. As an archivist and historian, I thought it was important to capture what we were experiencing, that once-in-a-lifetime or once-in-a-century event we're all participants in. Stoltz photographed empty parking lots and store shelves and a bag filled with paper gold, hard-to-find toilet paper. In a brief paragraph, he described the wonder as the Dayton area shut down. Tonight, we went outside to look at the full moon. At 10:30, we were struck more with the silence. No car traffic, no airplanes, just quiet. It was amazing to stand under the moon and stars in our neighborhood, usually bustling with noise, and not hear a thing. The reflections will be valuable tools to understand today's historic events in the future. The more accounts we can get into the libraries and archives for historians of the future, the better, Ricky said. Then anyone will be able to summarize the experience and see common themes. For example, the diary of Bishop Milton Wright, the father of Orville and Wilbur Wright, is among the artifacts in Wright State's archives often used for researching Dayton's famed aviators. Handwritten journal entries by Donald McKinney Wallace, a New Carlisle farmer, have been extremely relevant in the past year. Wallace describes quarantining in Army barracks at the University of Cincinnati in the fall of 1918 during another pandemic. He survived, but the Spanish influenza caused 50 million deaths worldwide, with 675,000 of them in the United States. First-person accounts are incredible tools for students who can look at history and see how sometimes it changes and sometimes we come right back to where we started, Stoll said. While keeping a personal account, it is important for future generations to study. Writing can also be therapeutic. Diaries are impactful because there is a personal connection no matter when they were written, Ricky said. We see ourselves in them. Wright State University Special Collections and Archives has more information about the Document Your Story project and how to donate on their website. You could go to libraries.wright.edu/special. So, yeah, definitely check that out, especially if you have some stories and other important info relating to the pandemic to donate. From WDTN, it's finally happened. After 6 years of planning and building and construction, the Gem City Market is finally open to the public, thereby solving or helping to resolve a grocery drought in the western side of Dayton. So here's an article from WDTN. Wednesday afternoon, Gem City Market officially opened to the community to shop after 6 years of planning and preparing. The full-service grocery store is also a grocery co-op and multi-stakeholder organization. It's ours. We all have a part in this, said Regina Martin, who came to shop on Wednesday. As of the grand opening, they had 4,300 member owners and are expecting to add thousands more. The membership costs a one-time fee of $100 or $10 for those who self-identify as low income. Then any member can get special discounts, have a vote in important decisions, and help pay for the operating costs of a grocery store in a food desert. It was built by the hands of the community, and there's community ownership in the store, so the community has a say, explained Leah Bahan Harris, the general manager of GCM. At the official store opening, hundreds of people lined up to get their first glimpse of the store. Elders in the community were ushered to the front and allowed to enter the shop first. Located on Salem Avenue, GCM is the first store in the area in almost a decade and one of the first models of its kind. Inside the store is a health clinic, teaching kitchen, community room, and coffee shop accessible to anyone in the community, whether or not they are a member of GCM. Dayton Cooks Chef Thomas Johnson will lead cooking, nutrition, and food preparation classes. My goal is to have our participants take the fresh food and vegetables and create them into healthy meals, he said. GCM has also created job opportunities in the community. About 80% of our staff live directly around the market and trade area, which is beautiful. We've had a lot of local talent and collaboration, said Bahan Harris. Anyone can shop at the GCM, and thanks to the Food for All program, EBT and SNAP benefits, WIC, and Produce Perks benefits are all accepted. There are multiple ways to become a member, and you do not have to live in the area to become a member owner. There are also opportunities to sponsor memberships for other people or to give as a gift. For more information about membership, there is a link on WDTN's website to it's gemcitymarket.com/become a member. GCM is now open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Again, you can go to gemcitymarket.com for more information. That's pretty cool, and we talked about this, I believe, one or two shows ago about how it's really relieving to see a grocery store open up in the west side of Dayton. Now, if I recall correctly, I could be wrong, but if I recall correctly, there used to be a Kroger's in the west side of Dayton, and unfortunately, that branch of Kroger's shut down because, according to Kroger, they were not seeing as much profit as they would like to see for that store. The nice thing about Gem City Market is that it is a community-owned grocery store. It is not owned by a chain or a conglomerate or a corporation. So they are not subject to the strategic planning that some of these corporations and chains do when deciding which stores to keep open and which ones to shut down. Therefore, as long as there's community members to keep the Gem City Market going, it's going to keep going. And hopefully it'll be here to stay for years and years to come in the Dayton area. It is a very welcome sight to see in Dayton. You know, I talk about how I think we are building a lot of shops, maybe too many shops around, the area. Like, for instance, there's been a lot of shops in the Sugar Creek area that were recently built a few years ago. And it took out a lot of forested area in that region. And I told my mom, I don't see the purpose in building all of these shops and taking away all of these, really cool woodsy areas, especially for the animals. I will say, though, this is definitely a needed addition to Dayton. The Gem City Market is definitely a shop I enjoy seeing, especially considering the west side of Dayton. And I've been on the west side of Dayton before for doctor's appointments, etc. And there really isn't much of anything to go to get groceries over there. You do have a few fast food restaurants. I mean, if you want some unhealthy food, but there aren't any real good options for healthy alternatives in the west side of Dayton, which is unfortunate. And I'm glad that the community has come together to put together this Gem City Market. Moving on, crews extinguish overnight house fire in Dayton, and this is from WHIO. The crews extinguished an overnight house fire that happened on the 3200 block of Rolliston Avenue in Dayton this morning. Montgomery County Dispatch tells us that crews responded to the fire about 1:20 a.m. One nearby neighbor said his son saw the flames shooting from the building. "Fire, fire, Daddy," said Daniel Powell, Smith's son. Dispatch confirmed there was no one injured. Further details are not immediately known, and WHIO will update the story as they get more information. We're going to go now to, let's see here. Kettering's Adventure Reef Water Park is to reopen for 2021 season. We read that, I believe, yesterday, so I'm not going to read it again, but I thought I'd let you know if you're planning your summer activities and planning some things for your kids to do, the Adventure Reef Water Park is going to be open, although they are going to have limited hours because they are short on staff. You could go to WHIO for more information on that. The Hewitt Soap Factory, Dayton's worst eyesore to be cleaned up. Now, we talked about eyesores in the Dayton area a few shows ago. There was an article about how Dayton is struggling to keep up with clearing out some of the demolished buildings and some of the buildings that were ridden by fires. And this is one of those. Dayton Daily News has a photo gallery of this Hewitt Soap Factory. I'm under a paywall right now because I exceeded the free article limit, so I can't bring that to you. And, of course, this is radio as well. But you could go to Dayton Daily News to check that out. But let's go to Springfield News Sun. I don't know if Springfield News Sun is under the Dayton Daily News and if they're going to paywall me, but no, it looks like we're good. Food Bank to add mobile pantry in Yellow Springs. The Food Bank will add a new mobile farmers market in Yellow Springs starting next week. The University of Dayton conducted a service gap analysis to identify several areas where food insecurity is highest. The new Greene County site is a product of what analysis and is open to anyone in need of food assistance. There will now be a mobile food pantry every third Wednesday of the month at First Baptist Church, located at 600 Dayton South Yellow Springs Road. 600 Dayton Street, Yellow Springs, from 1 to 3 p.m. The first mobile market will be May the 20th. These mobile farmers markets are open to anyone in need of food assistance and not just people who live in those communities. The Food Bank, in partnership with UD, also recently conducted a service gap analysis to identify areas in Montgomery County where emergency food needs are going unmet. Vandalia, Inglewood, and Phillipsburg were identified as needing more emergency food services due to the pandemic and the Memorial Day tornadoes. Our partnership with the University of Dayton is invaluable because it allows us to pinpoint where we are needed most, said Michelle L. Riley, CEO of the Food Bank. Our mission is that no one should go hungry, and this software helps us to do just that. We are looking forward to serving the Yellow Springs and Greene County community. You can read more at springfieldnewssun.com. We are now going to go to global and national news. Let us start off first with Cheddar News. Latest developments with COVID-19 from the Columbus Dispatch. With vaccine demand dropping in Ohio, the state is trying something novel. 5 weekly drawings of $1 million open to any resident who has received at least one vaccine dose. The money will come from federal relief funds. Governor Mike DeWine announced the unusual lottery, adding that there will be a separate drawing for Ohio teenagers, with the prize being 5 full rides to any public state university. Every teenager in Ohio and America is now eligible to get vaccinated under the CDC, which gave the stamp of approval for the Pfizer shot in children as young as 12. Many states will begin offering shots to adolescents as soon as today. So, interesting. A lottery, and we are in Ohio. So, if you want to take part in that, if you've been vaccinated and want to take part in that lottery, go for it. From the New York Times, the death toll continues to mount on both sides of the latest flare-up in violence between Israelis and Palestinians. Gaza officials said 83 Palestinians, including 17 children, have been killed. The Israeli military said 6 civilians, including at least 1 child, have been killed on its side. Israeli airstrikes toppled several high-rise buildings in Gaza that Israel said housed Hama officers after warning civilians to evacuate. On the streets, rival groups of Jews and Arabs have been attacking each other's cars and shops, according to journalists on the ground, as worries mount that the country is headed towards civil war. Oof. I've been hearing a lot about these, about the unrest between these provinces. It's unfortunate, to say the least. Moving on to Politico, hours after the House GOP stripped Representative Liz Cheney, the highest-ranking woman in the party, of her leadership position for speaking out against the false claims that the election was stolen, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy said, "I don't think anybody is questioning the legitimacy of the presidential election." McCarthy visited the White House to discuss infrastructure with President Biden after he led the movement to depose Cheney, telling reporters that she had become a distraction inside the party. From CNN, Colonel Pipeline has initiated the restart of the major pipeline carrying fuel to the East Coast, but it says it will take several days for the supply of gas to return to normal. The reason it has taken so long to get the gas moving again is reportedly because Colonel decided not to pay the ransom to the hackers and instead has been rebuilding its data systems from a backup. Good move. I know that, just backing up from the article for a moment, that is a good move on their part. Yeah, it does delay the amount of time it takes for the pipeline to get back up and running. But when it comes to ransomware, if we've learned anything about ransomware, you are never guaranteed to get your files back, even if you do pay the hackers the money that they are asking for. And oftentimes you don't get your files back. They just take the money and run. So it's good to hear that the pipeline is not paying the hackers. They should not get anything out of what they're doing because they're causing a big disruption to the country. That's just my opinion, not the views and opinions of WWSU Radio, Wright State University, nor their entities. Continuing on, meanwhile, gas shortages are still spreading in the Southeast. Nearly half the gas stations in Virginia, South Carolina, and Georgia are dry, according to Gas Buddy. The national average for a gallon of regular went above $3 for the first time since 2014. I'm also going to give just a personal PSA out there. Again, I'm not speaking on behalf of the radio station or Wright State University, but please don't hoard gas. By hoarding gas, you're just going to exacerbate the shortage and make it worse for other people. It's going to come back. It may take a few days, but it's better a few days than a few months like we had with the toilet paper shortage during the start of the COVID pandemic. So again, please just get what you need. Don't hoard and take more than you actually need in terms of gas. Continuing on, Inflation Nation. April's Consumer Price Index, a measure of a basket of goods, housing, and energy costs, jumped to 4.2% year over year, which is a much higher than expected reading that comes during a time of shortages and price hikes on everything from grocery staples to computer chips. Inflation is accelerating at its fastest pace in 12 years as the economy recovers, though the data is a bit distorted because of how abnormally low it was the time last year at the height of the pandemic. The Fed has said it expects the rise in inflation to be temporary. From CNET, low-income Americans can now apply for a $50 monthly subsidy on their internet service and get one-time $100 subsidy toward a new laptop or tablet as part of a federal program passed as part of the last stimulus. Millions of people on SNAP or Medicaid, Pell Grant recipients, families with kids on free lunch programs, and anyone who can establish substantial loss of income during the pandemic are eligible for the discount. Congress approved $3.2 billion for the one-time benefit, which will keep going until the money runs out or 6 months after the pandemic is declared over. From Vulture, the Foo Fighters, Tina Turner, the Go-Go's, Carole King, Jay-Z, and Todd Rundgren are this year's inductees to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Turner, King, and Dave Grohl of the Foo Fighters are already in the exclusive club. The induction ceremony takes place in Cleveland in October. Moving on to News 360. Let's see here. We're going to start with water dance, a drone's eye view of a synchronized swimming. So this is interesting, and this is from The Guardian. The Guardian has a photo gallery of a drone that flew above a large swimming pool during a synchronized diving event. And so when you go to see synchronized swimming, usually you're in a stands or on a seat or something, and you got kind of like you don't have a top-down vision of the divers. So what's pretty cool is that this drone captures the synchronized swimmers from a top-down viewpoint. And it's really cool to look at some of these formations that the divers make in the swimming pool during these events. So be sure to check out The Guardian for that gallery. It's called Water Dance, a drone's eye view of synchronized swimming. All right, we have Laughing Chipmunk in the studio now. We're going to have her hop on mic 3 here. But continuing our current events while she's getting set up here. Silenced by the COVID pandemic, Met Opera to make brief returns. So this is from Pix 11. Silenced for 14 months by the pandemic and dealing with labor strife, the Metropolitan Opera will make a brief return on Sunday. Music director Yannick, let's see if I can pronounce this name. Nizet Sequin, I think that's how you pronounce it, will conduct members of the Met Orchestra and Chorus in a program with soprano Angel Blue, tenor Stephen Costello, baritone Justin Austin, and bass baritone Eric Owen. The 45-minute program of works by Terence Blanchard, Mozart, and Verdi will be performed twice on Sunday night before audiences of 150, which will include first responders and Met audience members selected by the lottery. The concert will be at the Knockdown Center in Queens rather than the Metropolitan Opera House. The Met has not performed since March 11, 2020 because of the pandemic, canceling 276 performances plus an international tour scheduled for next month. That's a lot of cancellations. The Met hopes to resume with a Verdi Requiem on September 11th to mark the 20th anniversary of the terrorist attacks. Next season is scheduled to start on September 27th with the Met premiere of Blanchard's Fire Shut Up in My Bones. However, the Met has locked out stagehands represented by Local 1, the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, who plan to rally for Thursday outside Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts. The company's contract with Local 802 of the American Federation of Musicians, which represents the orchestra, expires on July 31st. The Met reached a tentative agreement on Tuesday on a 4-year contract with the American Guild of Musical Artists, which represents the chorus. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, it is time for your local weather and campus events. So everybody stay tuned. You're listening to The Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. Stay tuned.
Hey, everyone. Check out Rush Week 2021, presented by Alpha Sig Eta Psi here on campus. To find out more information, check out their Instagram at ALPHASIGS_WSU. You're going to love it.
Stony
SU 106.9 FM. And welcome back to the Rat Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. We have Laughing Chipmunk in the studio now. How are you doing this morning?
Fine.
Say that again, sorry.
Fine. Fine. I'm fine.
And can you get that microphone a little closer to you?
Like this?
Yeah.
I have my mouth right on the microphone.
Oh, gosh. All right, let's get into your weather forecast, shall we? So the current weather here at Wright State University, according to tomorrow.io, is clear. The temperature is 55 degrees. It warmed up quickly this morning.
Yes, it did.
It was like 45 degrees a couple hours ago.
Uh-huh.
The wind is coming from the north-northeast at 5 miles an hour. The humidity is 46%. The visibility is good, and the air quality is good. Your hyperlocal forecast for the next 12 hours shows clear and sunny skies for the next 12 hours. Nice. We are going to approach 64 degrees around 4 p.m., and then it's going to start cooling off around 8 p.m. down to 54 degrees at 10 p.m. Here is your extended weather forecast from the National Weather Service. Today, sunny, high in the mid-60s. Tonight, mostly clear, low in the lower 40s. Friday, sunny, high in the upper 60s. Friday night, mostly cloudy, low in the upper 40s. Saturday, partly sunny, high around 70. Saturday night, mostly cloudy with a slight chance of showers, low in the lower 50s. Sunday, a chance of showers, high around 70. Sunday night, a chance of showers, low in the mid-50s. Monday, showers likely, high around 70. And then finally, Monday night, mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and low in the mid-50s. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and go into what is happening around campus. We're going to talk about some of the courses that are being offered during the summer semester, as well as some of the latest happenings, latest news, and the latest bulletins for Wright State University. Many University is offering C-Campus grant funding for student parents. The grant would provide $700 off your children's monthly tuition. Other funding options are available to reduce the price even further. Parents must be Pell eligible and registered for 6 or more credit hours for the summer semester. The MBA Virtual Open House is on May 17th and June 15th. Are you ready to take a big step forward in your career or start a new one? Consider what a Wright State MBA might mean for your future, and then join us for the MBA Virtual Open House. Again, that is May 17th and June 15th. Competitive esports teams are holding summer tryouts. Rocket League tryouts are May 14th. Rainbow Six Siege is May 15th, and CSGO is May 16th. The Master of Humanities, it's a flexible, interdisciplinary, and unique program. Would you like to craft your own program of study in a variety of liberal arts disciplines? The MHUM program is currently accepting applications. There's also some tuition scholarship funding still available for this program. Wright State Physicians is resuming Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine clinic for Wright State students. You must have an appointment. You could become a disease detective next semester. Interesting. So fall 2021, there is a disease detectives course, PPH 2200. So that's PPH 2200. Register now for the class. The class size is limited. So if you want to become a disease detective, check out that course. There are some on-campus clinical research opportunities. Dermatology research in psoriasis and or healthy controls. New study opportunity is available for adult volunteers with untreated plague psoriasis or healthy controls without psoriasis, ages 18 to 50. It is a non-treatment study testing the role of the tumor protein P63. The study requires up to 2 biopsies, and compensation for time and travel will be provided. If you are interested, you could call 937 245 7500. This comes from the Clinical Research Liaison in Cincinnati, I believe. Let me double check here. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Wright State Physicians Pharmacology Translational Unit. Let's see. B&B 4001 Fundamentals of Biochemistry. Biochemistry and Molecular Biology is offering a one-semester biochemistry course geared towards pre-health students, taught online in both summer A and B terms. All work can be completed in an asynchronous format. The Passport Center on campus is open. The UCIE has reopened as a Passport Center. We accept Wright State students, faculty, staff, family, and even community members. Do you think engineering is not right for you? Take ISE 1110, Introduction to Engineering Science Applications for All. This class will change your mind. It is a 4-credit-hour class. 3 of them are lecture-based, and then there is a 1 credit for a lab. If you are in need of a few books to add to your summer reading list, we welcome you to visit the University Library's news blog for ideas. Personal Care Student Parent Caregiver Pantry is in need of donations. You could drop off your donations at the Culture and Identity Center at 140 Millette Hall or visit the wish list on Amazon. This summer, the Campus Recreations Fitness Center, pool, and climbing gym are open. You can read more information about the programs being offered by Campus Recreation on your Wings account. Are you an incoming freshman or a sophomore who missed out on a classic intro to college in 2020? Join us as we backpack the Appalachian Trail in Tennessee. That will be August 11th to August 18th, 2021. If you are interested, contact Aaron Sheritz, the Outdoor Recreation Program Manager, at aaron.sheritz, that's SHERRETS, at wright.edu. All right, well, we are going to go now into our free-form discussion. So, Laughing Chipmunk, what's going on in your world?
Well, let's see. As Bob Ross would say, in your world.
Yeah, you got a new Bob Ross background on there, on your computer, don't you?
I found the cutest picture on the internet, and it was, I don't know if it's like one of his paintings or one of his students or somebody, but it's a Bob Ross style painting, and somebody had put like a cartoon picture of Bob Ross and his little squirrel Peapod. I don't know if you all know this, but Bob Ross, the painter, he used to rehabilitate little wild animals, and then he'd set them free. And he had a squirrel named Peapod, and it was really cute. So we got this cartoon Bob Ross here and a cartoon Peapod, and they're both like, it looks like they're helping to paint the picture,
That's pretty cool. It's a really cute background. Where did you find it, out of curiosity?
I happened to look on, just, make a search on Google, Google Images,
Mm-hmm.
Bob Ross paintings, and I found that. It was in the search results. And
Very cool.
I don't know who it's by, who did it or nothing, but whoever did it, give them credit. They deserve the credit. It's really cute. Cartoon Bob Ross, he's got his little paintbrush, and he's got his palette with all the colors, on it, and Peapod's got a little fan brush, and he's, putting like highlights on a bush, and
That's kind of cute.
it's so cute. It's like, oh, I love that. I'm a big fan of Bob Ross.
So yeah, let's talk a little bit about Bob Ross. Let's start first off with this with who Bob Ross was. So Bob Ross was obviously a famous painter that aired quite frequently on PBS.
The Joy of Painting.
The Joy of Painting,
on
yeah.
PBS. Mm-hmm.
And he painted, I don't know how many different paintings during that series.
I think it was over like 3,000. I don't know. It was in the thousands.
Isn't there a collection of his paintings somewhere, like with his parents or something? I can't remember.
Um, I don't know where
Or
his paintings are right now. He's never sold them.
yeah, that's where I was getting at. That they weren't sold; they were being
They
held
were like
somewhere.
donated and stuff like that. Bob Ross wasn't about money. He was about making people happy.
Mm-hmm.
And teaching them how to paint. That's what he wanted to do. You know, and he wanted to paint big mountains and happy clouds and happy trees and you
Yeah.
know things like that. And he was really really good at it. And I remember watching him when I was a kid, and I would just sit there and just be like, "Oh my gosh," you know. I would just be like, "Oh wow," and his shows are so relaxing. I mean, he's got the softest, smoothest voice in the world. Well, he did. I think
He's
he passed away in like
yeah.
90, early 90s or something like that. But he had the most soothing, wonderful voice, and just the soft sounds of the brush tapping on the canvas, and his little painting knife, scraping on the palette and on the canvas, all the different little sounds. It's like, oh my gosh, it's so relaxing. It's like pretty soon you're like falling asleep.
Huh.
You know, I mean, I can't count how many times. Yeah, I mean, I would be like watching a show and I'd be like dozing off because it was so relaxing. And sometimes I'd fall asleep and then I miss the end, where to see the finished painting.
Mm-hmm.
But he's on YouTube. I mean, he's got a YouTube channel, you know. So it's like anytime I want to see Bob Ross and chill out, I go to his channel, and I mean, I just go right down the playlist, one after another.
Yeah.
It's great for people that have like, depression and anxiety. It's like, wow. He just doesn't know. I don't think he ever realized just how many people he helped, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But it's like he was just one of the coolest people in the world.
I know a lot of people who watch Bob Ross for stress relief, like you do, and some people watch him for ASMR because of the brush strokes and everything like that.
Yeah, yeah. And the little critters, that he rehabilitates. He
Mm-hmm.
had like birds and, well, mostly birds and squirrels, and they're just so cute. You'd have like a fuzzy little baby squirrel or a cute little baby bird, or something, and he'd show it on TV and everything. He's always wanted people to see his little animals, and if once they got healthy, he set them back in the wild. And if they weren't, if they couldn't go back in the wild, then they go to a sanctuary, because he knew people that had like animal sanctuaries, and stuff like that. So he worked with them, to rehabilitate the animals. And he's just the sweetest guy. He just loved animals. And in fact, yesterday, Patrick and I were over at Calvary Cemetery, and paying respects to my parents and my sister. And so I just happened to look. I was taking a video, and there's these beautiful, bright, white, fluffy clouds in the sky. And I told Patrick, "Hey, look, there's Bob Ross clouds in the sky."
Yeah.
Because it really looked like he had painted the clouds in the sky yesterday. And it was awesome.
Yeah, it was a nice day out yesterday,
It
that's
was
for sure.
beautiful.
Um,
Yes.
what would you say are your favorite things that Bob Ross painted?
Um. Oh gosh, I like everything. There's not a painting I don't like. Seriously. Um. He had like spring and summer and fall and winter and and even I don't like winter that much, but his winter paintings were awesome, and it just
It's pretty to look at, just not to deal with.
yeah,
The winter, that is.
I can't. I mean, I like all his paintings, all of them, and it's just I still haven't gone through his complete playlist on his channel. There's
It
just so
takes a
many.
long time to get through it because there's a
It's
lot.
gonna take me days. Oh, and he used to have a son, Steve, on there. Steve Ross.
Hmm.
Um, Steve started painting when when he was like a teenager or preteen, and he would be like a special guest on the show and paint pictures and stuff, and he would have like other guests come on the show, and like somebody would maybe paint like flowers or different things like that. So it wasn't just him all the time, it he would have like special guests,
Hmm.
and so that was interesting. That was cool.
Yeah. They say Bob Ross is a part of a trio of wholesomeness, as they call it, which includes Bob Ross, Mr. Rogers, and Steve Irwin,
Yeah.
which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's talk about a little bit about the other two, Steve Irwin and Mr. Rogers. Steve Irwin, he's the famously known as the Crocodile Hunter.
The croc hunter. Crocky, he's the croc hunter.
Had a really thick Australian accent. Very, very fun to watch his adventures as he played around with the animals.
I loved his show. I mean, I would sit there. He would like be doing something, with the animals and stuff, and I'd be like, "Steve, don't get so close! Oh my God, you're gonna get bit. You're gonna get spit on. Oh my God, Steve, be careful!" I'd be like yelling at the TV. Steve, what are you thinking? But it's like, he was always careful, But then that one day came when he was diving, and got, struck by the that stingray.
Yeah,
I mean that
in a very bad place too. I think
in
wasn't
his
it his
heart. It
heart?
was in his
Yeah.
heart. Yeah, and it's just nothing could be done. It was just, they have barbed stings too,
Hmm.
stingers, and if you pull it out, it makes things worse. And he just instinctively pulled the stinger back out. And I mean, I would have done the same thing. I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, something is in me. I got to get it out." It's just an instinct. And I guess he just wasn't thinking, and he pulled it out. And it made things worse.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, he passed.
because
I was sad
yeah,
about that. I'm like,
yeah.
"Oh man, I like that guy. He was cool." But his family is carrying on his legacy. His
Hmm.
wife, his son, his daughter. His daughter just had a baby.
I did not know
She's
that.
married. She had a baby. And it's like, oh, Steve would have been so proud. Oh my gosh. He would have been busting his buttons, And it's like, oh. So yeah, he was cool too.
And
And
Mr.
Mr.
Rogers,
would you
wa-
be my neighbor?
yeah, he's famous for his kids show that he did every weekday morning on. I think that one was also on PBS, if I recall
I think
correctly.
so, yeah.
PBS Kids, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Anyhow, I can't remember all the names of, the characters and
He had so many,
the
yeah.
puppets. There were so many. And he would have special guests on his show too,
Hmm.
sometimes. And yeah, and Tom Hanks, he played Mr. Rogers in that movie.
Hmm.
I forgot the title of it. And then come to find out, Mr. Rogers and Tom Hanks are distantly related.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how, but they're related somehow. But but yeah, Mr. Rogers was cool. And the reason why he always wore long sleeves is because he had tattoos on his arm because he used to be a Navy SEAL.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's funny.
I can't imagine him being a Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
He's just such a nice, laid-back, gentle man. It's just, you can't picture him with tattoos on his arms, and being doing the things that Navy SEALs do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, really? No way!
Yeah.
But it's like, I liked his show. It was a nice, wholesome children's show. It was very good. It was nice.
I think another thing that we could throw into the trio, well, it would become a quad instead of a trio, is Steve from Blue's Clues. Remember him?
Oh, yes, Blue's Clues. I used to watch that with Patrick. And I had a little crush on Steve Burns. I did. He was cute. He had the biggest, cutest, big brown eyes. He was just so cute. But oh yeah, it's like I love the characters on that show. There's Blue and Magenta and let's see what else.
Mr. and Mrs. Salt, remember them? And Paprika.
Well, was it Mr. Salt?
Oh, Mr.
Mrs. Salt.
Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper, sorry.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and their little baby Paprika.
And then I think they had another one.
Cinnamon.
Yeah, yeah, I was just about to say.
I thought that was so cute. And and they had the talking mailbox, and everything talked in that show. There was a side table drawer that talked, and
there's
what else?
Tickety Talk, the alarm clock.
Tickety Talk, yeah, the talking clock.
The bucket and the
Slippery
shovel.
Soap.
Oh yeah, slippery
Slippery
soap. I forgot about him.
Oh yeah, I mean that show was just absolutely darling. I loved watching it with Pat, and even when Pat grew up and moved out and everything, it's like sometimes I would still watch it, just because it was a really cute show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and remember Steve jumping through the
into pictures, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I wish I could do that. That would be neat.
Yeah.
Just jump through a picture and jump back and, of course, the cute little songs they had, the Blues Clues song and the Mail,
The Mail song is probably one of the most famous of them all.
Yeah, I can't remember how it goes. Here's the mail and never fails. It makes.
If you want to wag your tail.
Oh, I don't know.
Here,
I forgot
actually,
it.
we can look it up.
Oh, jeez. Everybody sing the Mail song from Blues Clues.
We can look it up. We have the internet.
Oh, jeez.
Actually, I'll just play it for you.
Okay. There we go.
Yep, come on.
Here's
the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
So there it is.
Well, I couldn't hear it, but...
Oh, yeah, you don't have a pair of headsets on.
No, I don't.
Well,
This
that
beachfront
doesn't, go away advertisement. Wow, a random advertisement popped up on YouTube and interfere with the broadcast.
But yeah, it's fun talking about these neat shows that we used to watch.
Yeah, especially kids shows. Like there were a lot of good children's shows and cartoon shows back in my day. Back in my day.
Back in my day too.
Back in your day, you had Tom and Jerry, you had Looney Tunes, you had Mickey Mouse.
Mhm. We had
Donald Duck.
All
of them.
And Pink Panther. What else was there? Oh my gosh.
Oh, Sesame Street. Can't forget
Street.
them.
Yeah. Good old Sesame Street. There was just so many. I can't. Fat Albert and well, that's what he was called. That's
I know.
What the cartoon was called, Fat Albert.
I just have to laugh because that was a funny that was a funny one.
Oh my gosh. too. My favorite thing to watch was Pink Panther. He's just
Yeah.
always outsmarting the that one guy.
Oh, and you had the Roadrunner and the Coyote
Oh
too.
yeah, Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. Beep beep.
Pretty much
Yep.
another version of Tom and Jerry.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we had some good stuff. Even when you were little, they had some good stuff.
Yeah.
And I used to watch it with you. Ed, and Eddie.
Oh yeah, I remember that show.
Oh, and
Dig a hole,
Fo-
dig a hole, dig a hole.
Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
Yeah.
That was a good one. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Those were the good old days.
Yeah, and I mean, we got a couple of good shows on today. I hear Steven Universe is pretty good. You know, but there's not nearly as many exceptional cartoons that you hear about nowadays that they had in the past.
Yeah.
Which is the regular show and Bob's Burgers I also heard is pretty good.
Okay.
Or maybe I'm confusing the regular show with something else. I have no idea. All right, we're going to go ahead and take our top of the hour ID break. And when we come back, it is time for your daily reflection. You're listening to the Rhett Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. Don't go anywhere.
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
My name is Daniel Hood, and I am a communication major at Wright State University. You are listening to WWSU 106.9 FM, Dane's Right Choice.
And we're back to the Right Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. And welcome back to the Right Morning Show. We're going to go ahead and get into your daily reflection. Today's topic comes from tinybuddha.com. Avoid feeling bad, how to stop taking things personally, by Maria Stenvinkel. Here's a quote from Don Miguel Ruiz. There is a huge amount of freedom that comes when you take nothing personally. Oh man, if I had $1 for every time I took something personally, I'd be rich by now. When I quit my corporate job in Paris and took a year off traveling, people would often ask me, "So what is your plan now?" A normal question to ask, I know, but back then I usually got offended by that question and other follow-up ones. It made me think, that others were judging my decision and questioning my ability to change career paths. Or when I was single and people would ask, so are you seeing anyone right now? Again, I'd often assume that they thought less of me if I didn't have an interesting single life or wasn't dating someone special. Or in the early days of dating my boyfriend, when he wouldn't have time to talk or see me at times, I'd take it personally and assume the worst. Maybe I had done something to mess everything up. Maybe he didn't think I was that interesting after all. Taking things personally is emotionally draining. It often makes you assume the worst and puts you in the victim corner. Sometimes, of course, it's worth reflecting on our own behavior, which can help us develop and grow as individuals. But taking things personally, when many times they're not, just tears down our self-esteem and makes us question ourselves. So we're going to pause there. Laughing Jumunk, have you had experiences with taking things personally?
Yeah, I used to.
So what did you do to overcome those?
I really don't know. I think I just, grew out of it.
Basically, don't give an S anymore.
Yeah, because, I used to be I can't think of the word for it. When I was dating your father, it's like...
Biological father?
Yes, your biological father. Yeah, it's like, if he was busy and he couldn't talk or couldn't go out and stuff, then, yeah, I'd start getting hyper, I'd be like, oh my gosh, maybe he lost interest, yada, yada, just like the, in that story there. And so, obviously he hadn't lost interest because we did get married and we had you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I think I just outgrew it. I became more confident as I got older, and even though we split and I'm married to somebody else now, I never went through that with Rich.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because I grew up, I matured, I had more self-confidence, and sometimes it would be like the opposite with me and him. Sometimes it's like, if I would be up here visiting and he'd be down there in West Virginia, and if he would call me or text me or something, and, I wouldn't answer right away, then he'd be like, hey, yeah. And I'd be like, dude, I'm busy right now. I'll get back to you. Just hold on to your horses.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like, the opposite with me and him. And it's like, just hold on a minute.
All right, so here are a few ways to stop taking things personally. First off, question your negative beliefs. When we take things personally, it's often because we hold a negative belief that is fueling our perception of a situation. For example, if you say hello to an acquaintance on the street and get upset because they don't reply back, you might believe that people who don't acknowledge you are rude or that they have something against you. Look at the limiting belief behind the situation and question it. Maybe they didn't actually see you. Maybe they didn't have time to perceive that it was you who passed by. Or maybe they were simply too occupied in their own mind to engage with anyone else. Many times, our beliefs make us misinterpret situations negatively and turn them against ourselves. We form negative assumptions and inevitably feel hurt if we don't take the time to question our thoughts and beliefs. I also kind of want to add this on there as a little disclaimer-ish to the example that they give. I do want to mention, people have the right to not say hello back. You are not owed a hello back if you say hi to somebody. So please don't divulge into the entitled mindset that some people do. All right, number 2, don't assume you know everything. When I left my job to travel for a year and to get clear on what business to start, I was scared of what others, especially colleagues I respected, would think of me. I simply assumed that they would think I was irresponsible for leaving a good career for, well, I don't know yet. There was one colleague in particular who I really looked up to that I already had assumed judged me for my decision. Whenever she mentioned something about her career, I turned that against myself as a way of confirming I knew it. She thinks I made a terrible mistake. Then one day, when we were talking about my journey and the choices I had made, she said, "You know, Maria, I think you're so brave. I wish I had the courage to also quit and pursue my own business." That proved to me that we don't know what others were thinking about us, even if we think we do. So don't assume you know everything.
Mm-hmm.
What you think you know about what other people think they know about you may not be true.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
You don't know Jack. That's my favorite.
Yeah. Without
Jack's out there, he's a stranger to you.
Yep.
Number 3, know that it's not about you. When someone seems harsh or insensitive, it's easy to assume it's personal, but often it's really not. Someone who's rude to you in traffic might have had a terrible morning, and someone who makes a condescending comment might struggle with their own self-esteem and self-confidence. Someone who's cold and short in their communication might be really stressed. It's worth reflecting on what we can learn when it comes to things we take personally. In my experience, there's always a lesson. Try to extract it and then leave the rest. For example, when I started a podcast, a friend sent me a picture over Instagram with the message, Women doing podcasts just found a substitute for therapy. It was supposed to be funny, but it wasn't to me. My learning in that situation was to care more about what I wanted to do instead of one other person's opinion or joke. And I'm happy I've continued because since then, we've received so much positive feedback on the podcast. Number 4, create a counter story. Often when we take something personally, it's because it confirms a negative story we have running in the back of our mind. For example, if someone in your family makes a joke or comment about you being messy or having limited cooking skills, and you regularly tell yourself that you're somehow inferior to others because of these things, you might get offended. So what do? Create an empowering counter story. Maybe you're a bit messy, and so what? You might also be really creative, and maybe you're not so great at cooking, but you have other skills. For example, you're the one who always sorts out conflicts between people. In short, tell a story that benefits you and remember that we all have flaws, quirks, imperfections, and weaknesses. Needless to say, if you don't like your behavior, then of course you have the power to change it. Sometimes you simply need to accept that you are who you are and there's nothing wrong with that. Number 5, accept that we are all different and not everyone needs to be like you or like you. You might be taking something personally because this gives you a greater chance of getting someone's approval. If that's about you, or if it's about you, then there's something you can do about it. If it's about them, then it's surely out of your hands, and all you can do is accept that for whatever reason, they don't like you or won't let you in. No single person on this planet is liked by everyone. I'm going to pause there and just say not even Jesus Christ was liked by everyone.
Right. Yeah. He had enemies.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's just part of life for all of us. Instead of trying to change yourself to be liked by someone, shift your focus and ask yourself why you need this person's approval. Is it that you're uncomfortable with disapproval in general? Or do you want them to like you for other reasons, such as they are a friend of a friend? When you identify the root cause of your discomfort with their disapproval, you'll be able to tell yourself what you need to hear to let it go. For example, that their opinion doesn't mean anything about you as a person. Number 6, create space between an offense and your reaction. When we take something personally, it's easy to lash out in anger, frustration, or pain, which only makes things worse. Before you step into action, try creating some space between the situation and your reaction. Breathe, step away, and allow yourself to calm down before acting out. Maybe you interpreted the situation in a negative way. Maybe this person wasn't judging or being condescending towards you. Maybe there's something you don't know about the situation. Try not to react to the situation, but to respond once you have calmed down. Perhaps with a little time and space, you'll recognize your initial conclusions were wrong. Number 7, I can't count today. Ask for clarification. If you know the person who said or did something that made you feel bad, ask for clarification. What did he or she really mean? What is his or her intention? Many times, we interpret situations negatively, but in my experience, after asking for clarification, we realize the other person didn't intend to hurt us. So instead of letting your thoughts spin off in a negative direction, ask the person to spell out what he or she meant. You may be surprised by the number of times you learn that you completely misread a situation. I do that all the time. I misread situations a lot. And finally, number 8, practice self-compassion. This is what it all comes down to, isn't it? Practicing self-compassion when we're being hard on ourselves. Because even though someone else might say or do something to offend us, we're the ones who decide how we let our behavior affect us. We can always choose not to take negative comments to heart or get down on ourselves just because someone else was rude or insensitive. Practice saying, "I'm not letting that in," to draw a clear line when you've decided not to take something personally. Whether you misinterpreted a situation or someone actually was rude to you, you decide whether to invite it in or not. So stand guard to the door of your mind. Keep a high standard and make sure to let in words, thoughts, and beliefs that empower and strengthen you. And that was from Maria Stenvinkel. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
That's a good article.
Any of those in particular that you're going to keep in mind for the future?
Well, I need to work on stop. What were we talking about earlier?
Negative thinking, taking things personally. We talking about a lot of things.
No, the stop assuming.
Oh, assuming you know everything?
Yeah, well, I mean, I know I don't know everything, but, it's like, yeah, there's once in a while I'll, like, assume something, and, it's like, I turn out to be wrong. It's like, oops.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think we all have done that before. I've done that before. You've done it before. I think that's something we've all done. We have a tendency to try and plan out or predict the situation and how the situation's going to turn out. And sometimes we're not correct in that when that happens.
Yeah.
All right. So if you want to read these and other cool daily reflections, you could go to tinybuddha.com. We're going to go now over to the Chicken Soup for the Soul for the story of the day. We're going to read one called The Best View. It should be interesting. This comes from Making Me Time, Chicken Soup for the Soul, and written by Anna Jensen. Here's a quote from Henry David Thoreau. "I took a walk in the woods and came out taller than the trees."
Okay.
Every room was occupied. The kids were home from school, each ensconced in the room, trying to focus on their online sessions. My mother-in-law was staying for the first 3 weeks of our national COVID-19 induced lockdown. The dogs flocked in either the lounge or the veranda, and my husband was working in a room on the vacant house next door, shouting over the wall if he needed anything. For someone used to hours of peace and quiet and the space to potter at will every morning, this was a challenge. I had no sooner cleaned all the kitchen counters and popped the stray cups in the dishwasher than another dish would appear. The milk seemed to be more out of the fridge than in. Snacks were in constant demand, and doors clattered and rattled. Just as I sat down to get my own work done, someone would request help or attention. Add to that the stress and anxiety experienced every time I read the news or watched updates on TV. Coronavirus numbers were climbing, and deaths were rising. The world was suffering. I was overwhelmed. I needed to do something, go somewhere. A place with a distant horizon, a wide open sky, and a gentle breeze. My garden, my retreat, my spacious place. We have some tour guides out there. I'm going to give a shout out to all of you at passing by the radio station. Come join WWSU 106.9 FM. If you're an incoming freshman, consider Wright State University and consider being an on-air DJ. It's fun and it's free. All right. Sorry for the impromptu promo there, but since there were tour guides passing by the station booth, I wanted them to hear that out there. Continuing on the story, I was overwhelmed. I needed to do something and go somewhere. A place with a distant horizon, a wide open sky, and a gentle breeze. My garden, my retreat, my spacious place. I live in Durban, on the east coast of South Africa, in a home overlooking the warm Indian Ocean. Palm trees wave their branches in the salty sea air, and yellow-billed kites play in the thermals. Pods of dolphins surf the waves below, and whales breach and smack their tails with glorious delight. Little wonder that there under the palm tree was my favorite place to rest, recover, and recharge. It was time to head there now. I brewed a cup of strong black coffee, aromatic and earthy, grabbed the brightly colored calf I'd bought in Mozambique a few months earlier, and tucked a comfy cushion under my arm. I closed the back door firmly behind me and took the few steps down to the pool area of the garden. Sheltered from the wind and drenched in warm end of summer sunshine, my plastic pool lounger awaited. I stretched out on the lounger, grateful for the feeling of finally being on my own. I sipped the coffee, gazing over the rim of the cup at the ocean stretched out in front of me, blue and peaceful. As I drank, savoring the bitter taste, I began to engage my other senses, taking time to tune in to the sights and sounds around me. Putting down the emptied cap, I began to deliberately notice the ebb and flow of the waves below me, observing the dark of the rocks under the surface. I watched numerous swallows rise and dip in search of food and tried to see the insects that were the object of their desire. I listened to the layers of sound. First, the loud crash and suck of the rolling breakers, then the closest of the birds, until gradually I would discern the rustle of the leaves in the tree below me. I took a deep breath in, one of those stuttering breaths taken by a child at the end of a torrent of tears. I hadn't been crying, but must have been more tense and on edge than I thought. Holding my breath tight in my lungs, raising my shoulders nearly to my ears, I took another breath, less shaky this time, and felt my diaphragm stretch and suck air deep within. Exhaling slowly and steadily, my shoulders fell and softened. I settled a little more deeply into my seat. This practice of observing the wonders of God's creation, of truly looking and noticing, has become a vital aspect in my self-care journey. In doing so, I hear again His whispers, feel His love, enjoy His presence. I am reminded that He is God and I am not. As such, I don't need to be weighed down with the burdens of the world. He opens the windows of my soul, and the claustrophobic stuffiness is expelled by the fresh wind of His Spirit. I gather my coffee cup and cushion and return to my overfull house, but this time, as I walk through the door, it was different, or rather, I was. Now there was space. and that was written by Anna Jensen. So I think the takeaway here is to make time for yourself, make some me time to rest and relax.
Mm-hmm.
What are your favorite things to do to rest and relax, Laughing Chipmunk?
Piddle around on the computer, mess around with my Envisioneer CAD program.
Oh, yeah, so you basically do interior designing for houses and things like that through this program on your computer.
Yeah,
Giving context to our listeners here who probably don't know about that program.
it's strictly a hobby, and some people do it for a job. You know, it helps
Mhm.
them with their job and stuff. But I do it strictly for a hobby because it's fun. You know, you can like do all kinds of architecture stuff and design and all kinds of stuff. It's really fun.
You know what I was thinking? You could
What?
perhaps sell some of those floor plans you make to actual interior designers.
I don't know.
Some you could consider.
I mean, there's only certain types of designs I'm good at. Other ones, you know, like the really modern stuff, I'm not that good at. I'm more, I'm better at the like the rustic,
Hmm.
you know, old-fashioned rustic, like log cabin kind of thing. You know, that's really my thing.
I'm sure other interior designers have their strengths and weaknesses too. So
Yeah.
maybe somebody who isn't strong at making rustic designs will find your floor plans valuable. So
Yeah,
just
it's a
a thought.
thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tossing it out there.
Mhm.
Might make an extra buck or two on the side by selling them. I don't know if you can legally sell them. That's something you'll have to check the terms and conditions
Yeah.
of your program. But
Yeah.
I would assume if people use that program for professional work that you could.
I can find out.
Yeah. So anyway, back to our topic. Self-care. Yeah. So nature is one of the best ways to de-stress and relax, at least in my opinion. Getting outside and exercising. Now you got two of the best ways to de-stress and relax. You got your
Mhm.
exercise and you're out in nature. So going out and hiking, for instance, or riding your bicycle through the park, things
Mhm.
like that. Go out fishing. Go to the park and grab your friends and play some frisbee or something like that.
Mhm.
Things like that can really help us, especially considering these times of COVID-19. You know, now's the time. If you haven't been really an outdoorsy kind of person, now is the time to really get out there and enjoy the outdoors more. Because, hey, guess what? You don't have to wear a mask outside if you're not close to
Yeah.
people. All right. So that pretty much concludes our daily reflection and daily dose of inspiration for today. I would like to know from our listeners what you do for relaxation and de-stressing and making some you time. And what does you time look for you? We'd love to hear from you. Leave us a message by going to our website at wwsu1069.org. Click the green play button and then click chat with DJ. You can hit us up on YouTube. Leave a comment on our YouTube stream. Just search for the WWSU 106.9 FM YouTube channel. Or you can join our Discord server and leave a message in our Discord. So there's 3 different ways that you could send a message to us, and we will love to hear from you and discuss kind of some of what you do for relaxation. But for now, we're going to go ahead and take a break on the Wright Morning Show. It's Thursday, which means it's Thoughtful Thursday. So when we come back, we're going to discuss a not really mind-bending, but mind-expanding topic. You know, something to really get you to think.
Mhm.
So we'll be back. You're listening to the Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. Don't go anywhere.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting.
And we're back to the Right Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. And welcome back to the Right Morning Show. It is Thoughtful Thursday, so we're going to go ahead and get into some thoughtful topics. So this one's pretty interesting. You know how, okay, so imagine that you're this person who's going to space, right? So you have to be put in the spacesuit, this big old bulky white thing. And the spacesuit ends up also being your bathroom, right?
Okay.
Well, okay. Maybe not, but
I pooped my pants.
but apparently spacesuit underwear does not necessarily smell the greatest.
Oh, gee.
So scientists are trying to make better underwear for those in space. So scientists at the European Space Agency are trying to make shared and frequently worn spacesuits less gross for astronauts on the International Space Station. Astronauts going on a spacewalk outside of the station have to wear several layers of protective clothing, including a disposable maximum absorbency garment diaper, another pair of undergarments, and a liquid and air-cooled garment. But sharing these external mobility unit suits can get pretty nasty. Reuse means crews are exposed to some gross residue left there by other crew members.
Ew.
Hygiene is always a concern aboard the International Space Station, said ESA life support specialist Christophe Lazier in a statement. Astronauts wear their clothes on alternating days, and then eventually they are disposed of, burnt up inside re-entering spacecraft. But there are some items and surfaces which have to be shared, he added. Grody underwear may not be a huge issue back on Earth, but in space, it's not a simple matter of running a wash. Spaceflight textiles, especially when subject to biological contamination, for example, spacesuit underwear, may pose both engineering and medical risks along long-duration flights, said ESA material engineer Malgorzata Halinska. Halinska and her colleagues are trying to come up with a special material that can nix any remaining nasties. We are already investigating candidate materials for outer spacesuit layers, so this early technology development project is a useful complement, looking into small bacteria-killing molecules that may be useful for all kinds of spaceflight textiles, including spacesuit interiors, she said. A team at the Austrian Space Forum are looking to find a way to mimic the antimicrobial qualities of materials such as copper or silver, but without running the risk of provoking skin irritation or tarnishing over time. To provide an alternative, we are collaborating with the Vienna Textile Lab, said Seda Uzdemir Fritz Bakterma, project scientist at the Austrian Space Forum. Another potential solution may sound counterintuitive. Fight bacteria with bacteria. They have exclusive access to a unique bacteriographic collection, Uzdemir Fritz Bakterna said. Those microorganisms produce so-called secondary metabolites. These compounds are typically colorful and some exhibit versatile properties such as antimicrobial, antiviral, and antifungal properties. The scientists are now exposing test materials to space-like conditions, including plenty of radiation, as well as simulated lunar dust, since astronauts may soon be returning back to the surface of the moon. Perhaps then astronauts can rest assured that they won't be swapping germs by sharing spacesuits. Imagine that you would have to share underwear with other people in space.
That's just gross.
Yeah.
Ew.
How do you think you would react if he had to do that?
I'd be like, nope. No. I don't think I'd have a job, but no.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's not for me either. So here's an interesting piece of technology in development. Another piece of interesting technology. Cornell scientist unveils a roadway that charges electric cars while driving. Highways would have a charging lane, sort of like a high occupancy lane. Researchers at Cornell University are developing a special roadway that's capable of charging vehicles' batteries as they drive over its surface. It's a bright vision of future in which drivers are no longer tied to individual EV charging stations, allowing them to travel while simultaneously charging their car's batteries.
Hmm.
Highways would have a charging lane, sort of like a high occupancy lane. Cornell Associate Professor of Electrical and Computer Engineering and lead researcher Khurram Afridi told Insider. If you were running out of battery, you would move into the charging lane, he added. You would be able to identify which car went into the lane and it would later send you a bill.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah, okay. I was about to ask how are they going to pay for the electricity, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
The same technology could even make warehouses more productive by allowing autonomous forklifts and other machines to charge themselves while still in motion. According to Afridi, such a technology is still at least 5 to 10 years out, but the effects of a wirelessly charging road could do wonders in a growing industry plagued by range anxiety, the worry of running out of juice while on the go. Such roadways would also alleviate pressure on charging infrastructure that is struggling to keep up with demand. There's only about 100,000 charging plugs that serve more than 1.8 million battery powered cars on U.S. roads, according to Insider. Expanding such a network is not only costly, it also comes with a variety of other logistical issues. The only way people are going to buy electric cars is if they are just as easy to refuel as combustion engines, Afridi told Insider. If we had this wireless charging technology, the electric vehicles would have even less limitations than traditional ones. Afridi's road works thanks to special metal plates beneath the road connected to a power line and an inverter. The plates create electric fields that can charge a vehicle's battery as they pass over one plate after the other. Plenty of challenges remain before wireless charging roads become the norm. While similar technologies have already caught on the smartphone world, scaling up the technology to charge entire cars is proving difficult and costly thanks to inefficiencies. Afridi, however, is hoping that using higher frequencies could be the answer, making wireless charging more feasible. Wireless power transfer is based on the same underlying physics used to send messages through radio waves to spacecraft in deep space, things like Voyager, the research said in a statement. Except now we are sending much more energy across much shorter distances to moving vehicles. In other words, the same frequencies used for deep space communication could be used to transmit power to vehicles over short distances. As of right now, Afridi and his team have managed to come up with a prototype that can power vehicles from 18 centimeters away. But building other components has remained a challenge. The future of such a technology is anything but certain. Converting existing roadways would require them to be ripped up, which is a major infrastructure challenge. But nonetheless, it's an exciting vision that could catapult the adoption of electric vehicles in the U.S. if it were ever to be realized. What do you think, Laffy Chimuk? Do you think that having a charging lane in the roadways is something that would happen in the future? Do you think it's plausible?
Probably. Everything else is happening, so why not?
And do you think it's something that will actually, serve those who have electric cars? Do you think it'll be beneficial?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't have an electric car. I'll probably never own one, but I mean, if it benefits other people with electric cars, okay, fine.
What I want to know is how fast it charges the car.
Yeah.
Because, some electric cars, especially, they have a certain kind of battery, and these batteries can only be charged at a certain rate. Otherwise, they
Right.
risk exploding.
Yeah.
And we don't want that. But on the same token, some people are not going to be on the highway for that long. So you're not going to get much of a charge on it. Although I guess a little charge is better than nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm curious about that. But on the same token, if you have something like my electric bicycle, for instance, which takes about 3 to 4 hours to fully charge,
Mhm.
if it takes 3 to 4 hours to fully charge a car through this charging lane on the road, that's 3 to 4 hours of roadway you need to build for the charging station. And I mean, we got a lot of roadway out there in the United States.
Mhm.
So making a charging lane would be a pretty difficult or a pretty big feat at that. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Mhm.
Let's talk about the science of blue light. You've heard this comes from the Neurohacker blog. You've heard about how people say blue light is bad for you and that it keeps you up and gives you eye strain and things like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's talk about that. This is from Tina Gammon. What years of being obsessed with mitochondrial health taught me about blue light. A Q&A with Matt Maruka. In today's digital world, we are exposed to artificial light constantly. From the screens we stare at to the lights we live under, blue light is wreaking havoc on our health. Enter Matt Maruka, CEO of RA Optics, RA Optics, a company known for producing the world's finest blue light blocking glasses. As a young kid, Matt struggled constantly with debilitating headaches, allergies, and gut issues, and spent years trying to mask these symptoms with Western medical drugs, Eastern diets and herbs, and modern diets and supplements, all to no avail. But a few years ago, things changed for Matt. That's when Matt began to learn that our mitochondria, the little engines in our cells that keeps us alive by burning our food and oxygen to make water and energy, are electromagnetic in nature. This means that how the mitochondria processes food and energy is controlled by light. Matt set out to regain his health but didn't expect his deep dive into mitochondrial health to launch him into a life changing relationship with blue light. Today, Matt shares with us how light drives mitochondrial functions, the science behind blue light blocking glasses triggering melatonin production, a high level overview of the eye brain connection, and gives us the 411 on blue light blocking glasses. So, question: can you give us a brief overview of how light drives mitochondrial functions? The mitochondria, like all life, evolved under the influence of sunlight. They are affected by light in many ways, especially when it comes to the timing and energy production. For timing, mitochondria are influenced by circadian rhythms, just like the rest of the body. This means that they are more active when the sun is present and designed to be in a state of repair while in darkness. For energy production, studies show that red and infrared light impact a part of the mitochondria called cytochrome C oxidase. The interaction allows the mitochondria to produce ATP, the basic energy currency in cells, with no electrons from food needed. What does this mean? We are able to photosynthesize in a sense. Knowing this fact, it is vital to our health to be exposed to natural full spectrum sunlight when available, and for those who are not able to get outdoors regularly, to supplement with red light therapy. Raw Optics is working to develop one of the best red light therapy panels available on the market today. The science behind blue light blocking glasses triggering melatonin secretion. Not all wavelengths of light, also called colors when found in the visual spectrum, affect the body in the same way. The wavelengths the body uses to regulate our body's clock, known as the circadian rhythm, are in the blue range. The invention of the light bulb was the first time man created a source of light that could affect our body's rhythms. Over time, artificial light sources have been developed to include a higher volume of blue light wavelengths to stimulate greater wakefulness and productivity, but at a cost. The issue with man made light sources, especially LED bulbs like this one in here in the studio, fluorescence, and light emitted from screens is that they do not contain the full spectrum of colors, which are naturally balanced and have a calculated effect on the systems of the body as a whole. So when one wavelength is significantly elevated in an artificial light source relative to its proportion in the sun, it causes an imbalance in the body's circadian rhythm, hormonal systems, and in the organ systems and biochemical reactions affected by light. At night, blue light tricks the brain into thinking that it is daytime, drastically reducing the natural production of melatonin. When blue light hits our retinas, it's like flipping a switch that signals the brain to activate a host of systems for daytime activity. When it is dark and blue light is not present, the switch flips to allow for the natural production of melatonin, putting the body into rest and recovery mode. The eye-brain connection. Our eyes are an extension of our brain. The retina is physiologically considered part of the brain. The eyes are external sensors that sense our environment and convey this valuable information to the brain. The most commonly known aspect of this relationship is the sense of vision because we experience it profoundly on a daily basis. The cells in our eyes, called intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, speak directly to the master regulator of the brain, the hypothalamus, via the optic nerve. These are non-visual cells, meaning that they convey tremendous amounts of information about our environment to the brain that we cannot consciously see or perceive. These cells are essential in regulating our circadian rhythm. Let's talk about blue light blocking glasses. Are they all created equal? They are not. In order for a blue light blocking lens to work, it must contain pigments specifically designed to absorb the damaging wavelengths of light emitted by modern lighting sources and screen devices. Most lenses on the market today are completely clear because of consumer demand. In order for a lens to be clear, it means that the lens is allowing all visible light on one side to pass through to the other side unchanged. When blue light is removed, the remaining colors, red, orange, yellow, and green, combine to make yellow. If 100% of blue light is removed, the lens will appear a deep yellow, almost orange. If a significant portion of green light is removed, the remaining colors, red, orange, and yellow, will combine to make a more deep orange or red lens. For this reason, raw optics day lenses appear yellow and raw optics night lenses appear red. The most effective way to know if blue light blocking lenses are effective is to purchase a digital spectrometer and test the lenses. Otherwise, the discerning customer could purchase from a company that provides this testing on their lenses, like Raw Optics. Here are 3 tips to prevent digital eye strain. Number 1, watch the sunrise each morning. Number 2, take sun breaks throughout the day for 5 to 15 minutes without any glasses or contact lenses on. And number 3, wear raw optics day lenses to provide or to protect from the damaging blue light wavelengths in an office. Additionally, people can download a software called Iris onto their computer to reduce or eliminate harmful blue light from devices. Our modern lifestyle exposes us to artificial day and night, from screens we stare at to lights we live under. If we want to optimize our health, we need to protect ourselves day and night from this harmful light. So a little bit about Matt Maruca. He is a researcher, entrepreneur, and educator in the fields of photobiology, mitochondria, and optimal human health, and the founder of Raw Optics, a company known for producing the world's finest blue light blocking glasses. Matt also created the Light Diet, a diet that directly addresses the root of the modern chronic disease epidemic and mitochondrial dysfunction. Matt now spends his time traveling the world studying and teaching about the relevance of light in human health cycles with a focus on reversing this situation, as well as integrating science with ancient Eastern wisdom. If you'd like to learn more about the blue light and its impact on mitochondrial functions and sleep performance, you could check out the RA Optics blog or connect with Matt on Instagram. If you want to try out Raw Optics glasses, you could use the code NeuroHacker at checkout for a discount. And that is from neurohacker.com. That's pretty cool. Blue light blocking lenses. We don't always have the luxury of being able to avoid blue light, especially like, for instance, right now I'm in the studio. I'm in front of 3 screens in order to see what's going on the radio. And then, of course, so this LED light here, the light that I showed those who are on YouTube, the light that indicates that there's a microphone turned on in the studio. It appears red, right? Well, but it's an LED light, so there is some blue emissions coming from that bulb, even though you can't see them because the red is overtaking it.
It's
So,
bright too.
it is a bright bulb. Well, it's only 20, the equivalent of 20 watts, I think, in terms of brightness. It's not as bright as a regular LED bulb, but it's there to get your attention.
Yeah.
Anyway, but my point is sometimes we can't avoid blue light in our day-to-day lives, and
Right.
that's where getting a blue light filter pair of glasses might actually help, especially if you get eye strain a lot.
Yeah, which I get a lot.
Yeah. So I think I might check into that sometime.
Of course, it doesn't help that I'm starting to get cataracts forming too, so.
Yeah, cataracts can... Cataracts is a beach. Let's just say
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
A beach with the ocean and the seagulls and everything like that. We're going to talk about the deadly Tesla crash real quick to end our Thoughtful Thursday. This comes from Futurism.com. Federal investigators have released a preliminary report into a deadly crash involving a Tesla Model S that killed 2 men in Texas last month. Early reports suggested at the time that neither of the 2 passengers were sitting behind the wheel at the time of the crash, prompting speculation surrounding Tesla's controversial autopilot feature. The new report, however, suggests that footage from the vehicle owner's home security cameras, as reviewed by the National Transportation Safety Board NTSB, showed the 2 passengers entering and occupying both front seats of the vehicle. It's important to note, though, that the men switched seats after leaving home and before the deadly crash, and a witness did hear them discussing autopilot prior to getting into the vehicle. The NTSB's investigation also found that Tesla's automated traffic-aware cruise control, one part of its autopilot feature that controls the vehicle's speed and distance to vehicles in front of it, could have been engaged. But a different part of the autopilot suite, Auto Steer, which, as its name suggests, allows the vehicle to steer itself, was not available on that part of the road, according to the report. It's yet another puzzle piece in an investigation that has already seen many twists and turns. Following the crash, Tesla CEO Elon Musk was adamant that autopilot was not engaged during the crash. Conflicting reports also raised questions about whether somebody was in the driver's seat. According to Tesla's investigations, there was in fact somebody in the driver's seat, contradicting first responders who found a high degree of confidence that there was no one driving the vehicle, as Harris County Constable Mark Herman told local Houston news station KHOU. It's still possible that the vehicle's restraint control module, a kind of black box that records a host of data, can provide investigators and the public with some answers. The module was recovered, but was damaged in the ensuing fire. All aspects of the crash remain under investigation by the NTSB, as they determine the probable cause with the intent of issuing safety recommendations to prevent similar crashes, the NTSB concluded in its preliminary report. The story is far from over, with plenty of questions we still don't have answers for. So Interesting. So, yeah, a lot of people are still iffy about self-driving cars like Teslas, and that's one reason why.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to drive, have a car that drives itself just yet. I mean,
It's,
I,
it's a little too soon.
yeah,
The
I mean,
technology's pretty new.
yeah, I've got cruise control on my car, it's like, okay, well, I want some method of control of that thing.
Yeah.
So, because you never know. When you have a car that's, completely driving itself, you don't know what's going to glitch and go wrong, and you're
hmm
going to end up wrecking, and that's not going to be good.
Yeah, and as
So,
far as I know, I think the Tesla cars are going to stay that way. They're not going to be completely self-autonomous. There's still always going to be a way for you to control the car. Uh, and I wouldn't be surprised if they made that a law that uh, autonomous cars have to have some way for the driver to control them.
right. I mean, okay, you remember that TV show Knight Rider,
hmm
with Kit? Okay, well, even Michael Knight, he was able to control Kit, even when Kit was driving himself. I mean, he would switch over to manual driving so that Michael could take over. Of
hmm
course, that was all like fantasy stuff back then.
Who knows? It might become a reality.
Yeah, I want a Kit car.
Yeah. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap up today's morning show with a final look at your weather forecast. The current weather, according to tomorrow.io at Wright State University, is clear. The temperature is 60 degrees. The wind is coming from the northeast at 7 miles per hour. The humidity is 31%. Visibility and air quality are both good. Your hyperlocal forecast for the next 12 hours shows mostly clear skies with a few clouds rolling in at 5 o'clock, but they're going to go away at 6 o'clock. The temperature is going to reach 60 degrees between 12 and 1 p.m., and then it's going to climb up to 64 degrees by 3 p.m. It's going to hang around 64 degrees for a while and then start cooling off between 7 and 8 p.m., and then get down to 53 degrees by 11 p.m. Here is your extended forecast brought to you by the National Weather Service for Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Today, sunny with a high in the upper 60s. Tonight, mostly clear, low in the lower 40s. Friday, sunny, high in the upper 60s. Friday night, mostly cloudy, low in the mid 40s. Saturday, partly sunny, high around 70. Saturday night, a slight chance of showers, otherwise mostly cloudy, with a low in the lower 50s. Sunday, a chance of showers and otherwise mostly cloudy, high around 70. Thursday night, a chance of showers, otherwise mostly cloudy, low in the mid 50s. Monday, showers likely, high around 70. And finally, Monday night, a chance of showers, otherwise mostly cloudy, with a low in the mid 50s. So again, I want to thank Laughing Chipmunk for being on the show today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And thank you for making us a part of your morning on the Right Morning Show. We are here every morning, from every weekday morning, that is, not on the weekends, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on WWSU 106.9 FM. So be sure to tune in to us, make us a part of your morning routine. And we are now streaming on YouTube as well. We have a new radio station channel, WWSU 106.9 FM, so be sure to check us out on there every morning as well. Coming up later today at 1 p.m. is Testa and Neil Keep It Real. Get your daily dose of sports news and events. So be sure to check that out from 1 to 3 p.m. I believe they are also going to stream on the WWSU YouTube channel as well. Also, coming up on Friday is the Jones Review. So it's a new show coming to the radio station. That's going to be right after the morning show at 12 p.m. Bailey, the host of that show, is going to talk entertainment for an hour. So be sure to check that out. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Hey, this is Mac Miller, and you're listening to WWSU, Dayton's Right Choice.
Social distancing slows the spread of coronavirus, so if you have a fever,